This adorable pyramid bag is surprisingly easy to make, and I can't wait to show you how. Please don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Today's crochet, and today I'm going to go over some supplies that you will need for your pyramid bag. So for my pyramid bag, or for most of my crochet bags, I use Bernat Homemaker Deck. This is a tubular type yarn. It's made a lot like t-shirt yarn, but on the inside it's got like a polyfill type material, and it works great. It's very, very stretchy, but it works really great for bags, especially if you're going to line them. It doesn't matter if it's stretchy. You're also going to need a J 6mm hook and an I 5.5mm hook. You will need a 7-inch zipper that correlates to your yarn. I'm using cream, and I bought this from Walmart, of course, for $1. Even when it's not on clearance, it's $1. I don't know why they did that. You will also need some Monofilament Illusion Cord. I got this from Walmart as well in the jewelry section for very cheap. It is a non-stretchy nylon cording. You will need some clear sewing thread. You can find it in most craft stores. I got this from Walmart in the sewing thread. You will need a tape measure, a stitch marker, and I am choosing to use this ring here. You could realistically use a keychain ring, an O-ring that folds in, just any kind of ring. This one is my preference. The inside is about 2 centimeters or 1 inch, a little under an inch. I got that from an assortment bag off of Amazon, and it comes with a lot of them, 50 pieces. I stained some of them, which is why some of them are brown. You'll need a bead assortment. You don't need a lot. This is just what I've got. You can get them on the strand at most craft stores. I think I got these from Hobby Lobby. These were only $3, and every other week they have theirs 50% off. So I probably, most likely, only paid $1.50 for these beads, which seems like a lot, but they are super cool. And there's a really good chance I'm going to use them today. Need scissors, of course, and I use leather to accent this bag. And this bag I bought at Hobby Lobby for about $6 or $7. They have different color variations. It's just scraps. I use them all the time for my bags and absolutely love them. If you can't find them at Hobby Lobby, or if you don't have a Hobby Lobby near you, you could also find them at their website, www.realleather.com. So you could order them from elsewhere. Okay, there it is. It's $6.99. So there you go. So you also could use other embellishments. This is just what I'm using today. So let's get started. Okay, so for the body of the bag, you're going to want to grab your larger hook, your 6.0mm hook, and we are going to make this is going to be according to your preference, a chain that is twice the length of your zipper. Me personally, I cannot make a chain, join it at the end, and start working in the round without twisting the chain. So I'm going to make a foundation single crochet. So to do that, if you've never done that, it's very simple. You chain 2, and then you go in the second chain from your hook, which is way back here. You're going to yarn over and pull up 1 loop, chain 1, and then go through both loops. So the chain 1 that you made, you're basically making your foundation chain and your single crochet at the same time, and it works vertically, which is unusual. So if you flip it over, you can see the 2 bars of the chain. You're going to put your hook through there, pull up a loop, chain 1, and then make your single crochet like you normally would. So basically, before you complete your single crochet, you are chaining 1 for the next stitch. So you're going to flip it over, put your hook back through those 2 bars from your chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, chain 1, yarn over, go through both loops. Okay, I'm going to continue making my foundation single crochet until it is approximately 15 inches long. And the reason that I added an inch is because I found on my last bag that the bag does shrink a bit. So I'm going to add an inch so that my bag doesn't curl up. Okay, so I'm going to probably speed up the video and meet you back when I've got my foundation single crochet made. Like I said, you can chain the amount and then form a ring and then put a single crochet in each stitch across, or around I should say. But I cannot do it. I cannot do it without twisting my chain. I have been crocheting for 26 years, something like that, and I can't make a chain without twisting it. So I've made my foundation single crochet to be about 15 inches long, and if you chained and then turned and worked single crochets, that's fine too. Now we are going to turn our strand into a ring without twisting it, and we're going to slip stitch in the top of the first single crochet. Now we're going to chain 1, and this is the only time that we're going to do this in the whole bag as far as in the round. And we're going to put a single crochet in each stitch around. And you want to work kind of tightly because this material needs to be dense. If you don't want to line your bag, then you need a very tight crochet material. So, for example, if I was not using this Bernat Homemaker deck yarn, I would be using 3 strands of acrylic yarn held together. And the reason that I say that is because acrylic yarn by nature is very flimsy. And if you want this bag to have some shape, you want it to have some body. So if you were using regular acrylic yarn, I would use 3 strands of yarn held together, worsted weight yarn held together, and make a super dense fabric. Another thing you could do, realistically, is take a super bulky weight yarn like Lion Brand Hometown USA, and probably like an N hook, I think, and use the same concept, because we're not doing stitch multiples, we are measuring. We're doing it till it measures a certain measurement, and so you could realistically do it with any yarn and any hook. So just think outside of the box. I tell people that all the time. Think outside of the box and think about other things that you could do with the materials that you already have in your home. Okay, so I'm getting a stitch marker out. I'm not using that one because it's flimsy. You could use a bobby pin. You could use a piece of yarn until you ran out. I'm just going to use a stitch marker, and I'm going to work in continuous rounds, putting a single crochet in every stitch around. On my last bag, I didn't use a stitch marker, and I kind of regret it because I think I got off count just a little. You can't tell, but I do think that I should use one for this one. So this is basically all you do. You work a tube basically. So I'm just going to continue making single crochets all the way around, or if you've chosen a different stitch pattern that's dense, that's fine. I think you could do like, oh, I forget what it's called. You could do the waistcoat stitch. That would be even more dense than just a single crochet, but it would also be a lot more work. And the waistcoat stitch goes in between the V's way down deep. I am too impatient for that stitch. I love it. I think it looks beautiful. When I make baskets, I use it. But for this particular pyramid bag, I am just going to be using single crochets all the way around. And I'm going to continue to do so until it measures the same width as the zipper as well. So what I mean by that is here the tube or the ring should measure 7 inches this way, maybe slightly stretched for the zipper, okay? And we're going to continue making rounds until it measures 7 inches this way. Now you're welcome to stop sooner if you want a smaller change purse, but I want it to be about the same size as my last one. I felt like it was the perfect size. So I'm going to continue making rounds of single crochet, and I do mean continuous rounds. We're not going to be joining and chaining one. You don't want to see a seam until it measures 7 inches this way. Or if you are in the UK, that's approximately 18 centimeters. So I'm going to stop the camera and meet you back here whenever I have the size of tube that I need so that you can see the next step. So I have created basically a tube that is about 7 inches tall and about 14 inches to 15 inches in circumference is what I was going for. This sort of stretches and shrinks, so I'm not super worried about it. So what you're going to do when you get to the size that you want, you are going to slip stitch in the top of the next single crochet to finish off that round. And I'll show you the concept right quick how this works. So basically you've got a tube here, like a muff. And for one side of the bag, you are going to sew it flat, like just sew it across here. What we're going to do is slip stitch across. And then on the other side, you're going to do it the exact opposite so that they're 90 degrees to each other. So I'm going to put a zipper on this side. And that's what gives it the pyramid shape. So we're going to sew this way, and then we're going to have a zipper this way. So they're exactly 90 degrees from each other as far as the direction that they are going. So for ease of the pattern, we are going to chain 1 and fold the piece in half. Like you want to be as close to exact as possible. And then you're going to start, we're going to not go in the stitch that you joined in. We're going to put your hook in the next one. We're not going to put your hook in the one that we ended with either. This is just so that it joins together evenly. And we're going to slip stitch loosely all the way across. And actually in my last bag, I did it with a smaller hook, which is why I recommended in the supply list using a smaller hook. But I do believe that I was more consistent in this bag than I was the last bag, so I don't need the smaller hook. So I'm just slip stitching kind of loosely, not too tight. This is going to be the bottom of the bag, obviously, because the other side we're going to be putting a zipper in. So we're just going all the way across through both layers, through both V's in the top of the stitches, all the way across. And slip stitches are easy. If you're not familiar with them, I'm sure you are. You wouldn't be attempting something like this bag. All right, now we're going to turn your work towards you, to where you're on the other side. I hope that makes sense. And I'm going to slip stitch across the bottom one more time, all the way across. And the reason that I'm doing this is to give it a really sturdy shape. It might look a little off. Let's see what it looks like when we chain one at the end. I did it on the last bag, but for some reason it's a little more obvious. So we're going to chain one and turn, and then start slip stitching across. Yeah, I think that's going to look a little bit better. So either way, it's going to look a little bumpy, but it's not bad. Again, I did it on the other bag and I didn't notice. So I'm just repeating the slip stitches all the way across. And if you're wondering where my hook's coming out on the other side, it's going underneath the row of slip stitches as well. It's going to feel natural. If you're forcing it, then you're probably not putting your hook in the right place. Okay, so here we are at the end. We are going to fasten off, leaving yourself quite a bit of tail because this is a little bit harder to hide when you weave in your tails. So I'm basically trying to go underneath that corner there with that. And then I'm going to bring it on the inside and weave in that tail. You know what I'm going to do? Because I can't stand it. I am going to make a round of single crochet because I can't stand this. It's hideous. So I'm going to just go ahead and make a round of single crochet. And I might go into the bigger hole there too, like way down deep, to kind of cover this up. Let's see what that looks like. The reason I'm going into the big hole here is because I think it's makes it a little bit too loose on the end. And then it also creates like a ribbing. I'm not really sure why, but I don't want a ribbing. So if you find that yours is extra big, you could even use a smaller hook size for this part, but what I'm doing is just crocheting a little more tightly. And see, this is gonna maybe hopefully hide that hideous part right there, because I really cannot stand it. So that'll give us a cleaner edge to work with the zipper. This is going to be the front of the bag, so you don't want it to look ugly. So that fixed it. You may want to do like an invisible join here. I'm not really sure how most people do theirs. I'm sure I'm not doing it right. This is just how I do it. Okay. So I'm not going to hide all my ends on camera. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. Okay, so we've got both ends here going the same direction. This is the bottom that we did earlier. Well, now we are going to fold this in half exactly, and then find the top and the bottom. What you could do is even mark it with a stitch marker, and that way you know without a doubt that you are in the middle. Because when you're manipulating your bag here in a minute, it's going to frustrate you if you don't have it marked. When you go to sew in your zipper, you're going to really need to know for sure where you're at. So I think that pretty well this right here is the center of the top. I'm just going to mark that stitch, and then one more time I'm going to fold it in half. And if you know how many stitches you have, what you could do also is just count, you know, back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I know that I have 42 stitches, so I know that this is the other end. And this stitch marker is a lot more flimsy, so I'm not sure. There we go. So once you've got it marked, this is going to be the top and this is going to be the bottom of your zipper to give it that weird shape, that pyramid shape. And you see how slip stitching on both sides really makes that firm line there. You really want it to be firm. So what I'm going to do now is get my nylon thread and a sewing needle, and I'm going to sew my zipper to the bag. Make sure your zipper works before you sew it in. You may want to get some stick pins as well, some sewing pins, so that you can keep it down while you are sewing it. But you want your zipper pull to line up with your stitch marker, and you want the bottom of your zipper to line up with that stitch marker. And my zipper might be slightly too long for my bag. It happened on the last bag. It's not a big deal. Because this is so stretchy, it tends to pull in. So when you are starting to sew your zipper in, start at the top. Because if you have to shorten your zipper while you're sewing it in, it's a lot easier than taking it all out, you know, after you've sewn it to the top and you've got that much hanging out. So if I were you, I would start at the top and work your way down. So you obviously want to sew these tails down, and you want the little tiny metal part to be lined up the top. And the way that I do it is I go ahead and I open the zipper and I line up the top of the stitches with the zipper teeth. And I sew using a back stitch all the way down to the end. I do it one side at a time in case something happens. You may even want to do it in quarterly sections so that with wear and tear, your zipper doesn't just easily come out. Make it a little stronger. It's up to you how you want to do it. But make sure that this is turned down vertically, and then turn your teeth this way and sew it all the way down. If you need to shorten your zipper, it's very, very easy to do. Just stuff this in down a little bit, like that, roll it underneath, and then sew across. Well, since this is the bottom, you would make sure it was lined up here, and then just on this intersection here, sew around and around and around and around, and that becomes the zipper stop. I had to do it on my last one. It's super simple, and because this is clear, nobody is going to see it. okay? Okay, so I decided not to pin my zipper in because it was making it actually harder on me. So you can decide how you want to do it. But for me, I'm just going to line the teeth up with the top of the single crochets there. And I'm using the clear nylon thread and just a regular sewing needle. And I'm trying to use a back stitch. The nylon thread is very frustrating because it's, you know, clear, and it just is hard to see, and it's very wiry because it doesn't have much weight, but I'm going to show you a few stitches here, and then I will probably stop the video because I don't want this to be super long. So I'm going back just a little and then forward just a little from where my needle comes out. So my needle come out here, so now I'm going to go back just a little and forward just a little. My needle came out here, I'm going to come out, go in here rather, and out there. All the way down. Try not to snag your yarn, just because I think it is a little bit more obvious with this cream colored yarn. This is a little bit challenging, but it's worth it in the long run. Okay, so I've come to the end of this side of the zipper. I have one side completely sewn down, and I'm to the end where I've marked the bottom, and as you can see, this is just slightly too big, so I'm going to tuck that in and kind of stretch it just a little bit and poke this together to where the end of the zipper lines up with the stitches that I marked. Well, I say I am. Okay. And I am going to sew that part down. And I'm going to take this out and go back behind here and through the zipper. I'm going to do that just a few times. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. You're going to have this whole other side here sewn down to it, so it isn't likely to go anywhere. I will go ahead and open the zipper back up just to where I can get to the lip. And I'm going to go down into the lip because I think it'll be easier if I turn it the opposite direction and line up the lip this way. I've got it wrapped around here. It's a little fiddly at first. You gotta fool with it just a bit. So now I'm going to keep lining the lip up, or the teeth rather, to the top of my single crochet stitches here. And I'm going to work the back stitch. It's a bit of a challenge, but just be patient. So I'm going to stop the video and meet you when I get to the other end and I'm done sewing the zipper on. Okay, so I've finished putting the zipper in, and this is what it should look like. Nothing super fantastic. I will show you that oops, wrong end. I crisscross these ends towards the top of the zipper so that they wouldn't stick out when you opened the bag. So that's what it should look like. The top of the bag and the bottom of the bag should be, 90 degrees to each other. And now for the fun part, which is embellishing. It's always my favorite part. It is a process for me. But I decided to go with, in the bag of assortment that I tell you to get from Hobby Lobby, I decided to go with the caramel color. They have several colors usually, but I decided on this, and I also decided on these beads. And I think that this matches the bag and this matches the leather, and that is one of the reasons I picked it. And since we're using a natural color wooden ring, that's why I picked these colors to go together, because I think they really go well. So if you remember, I got these beads that look really cool from Hobby Lobby on the strand, and these natural things, these natural beads, I got this in a bead assortment at Walmart. I'm sure other places carry it. And I got these wooden rings from Amazon in an assortment pack. So to get started, you will need your ring and one strand of leather. You're gonna need, let's see, let me make sure I'm telling you correctly. You're going to need 2 strands total, sorry. So you're going, if you look at this bag that I've already done, I brought the leather through the center of the top of the bag and attached the ring that way. Then I brought it to the side and did some macrame square knots to hold it in place. And then I added the beads to the bottom. And then I added the strap to the top, and the strap is actually just one long piece that I did 3 times. So I'm hoping I can remember how I did it, because when I'm trying things, I sometimes don't, think about having to do it again. I just go with the flow. So here's hoping that I can at least get close to replication here. So if you're looking at the top of the bag, and if you want, you can stuff the bag to give it a little more body. I usually use grocery bags. That's what's in this one, if you can hear it. I stuff it to give it some body, and that's also what I do when I take pictures of the bag for website purposes. So find the top, and I'm going to say it's about right here. And, oh, the zipper pulls in the way. You may need a hook for this to help you get through the stitches on top. I am going to go through 2 bars of the top and just kind of hook it through. All right. So put the ring on, and let's see, what did I do here? I'm going to go back through this part here and down. So the only thing that's between it really is the wooden ring. And you want to kind of get your ends fairly even, because we're going to do some macrame knots. And don't be nervous about that. These are so easy. I know just about nothing about macrame. I would like to know more, but even in my novice experience that I have with it, I can do the square knot. So now what I'm going to do is kind of make them parallel to each other, so side by side. And we're going to take the one that's on your left and go underneath the one that's on the right. Take that very same tail and stick it through the loop you just created. And then take the leather up towards the top. This first one will be a bit of a challenge. All right, and then we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to take the one on the right and go under the one on the left to create a box or a square. And then we're going to take that same end and put it in the hole you created and pull it up. As you can see, this is pretty sturdy if you get it just right. You will have to play with it just a little bit to make sure it stays. Okay, I did it, looks like a few times, so we're going to do it again. Take the one on the left and go under the one on the right. Take that same tail and stick it in the loop from top to bottom. And then pull up. Then we're going to do just the opposite. We're going to take the one on the right and go under the one on the left. Take the same tail and go through the box. And pull up. You can do this as many times as you want. Let's just do another one and see what it looks like. Go under the one on the right, go through the loop, pull up, as you can see, I'm trying to manipulate the leather so that the caramel color sticks out. That is what I'm doing. Take the one on the right, go under the one on the left, and go through the loop. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's see what our beads look like on it. Okay, you're still gonna have a lot left. That's okay. So we're gonna get our beads, and I put the smallest one on top first, and that happens to be these guys. They don't make them any bigger, so this is the size that I have to work with. Sometimes you have to twist them to get them to go in. Sometimes you have to stick a small hook down inside to get the shavings out. But they go on usually pretty good. Just have to fight with them sometimes. And then I get the bigger one, which is the natural color one. And go up. I'm not going to leave a huge tail because this is for embellishment, and I want the one in the back to be a tad longer. So usually I'm like a bead, I stagger them just a bit, so I know that I don't want this strand to go any lower than this, so I'll probably stop there. So you may have to move your bead up and make a knot. And I just tie a knot upon itself. Like this is nothing macrame. It's just knot. And let's see. Let me take it up. I really do hate to waste this much leather, but sometimes it's just the luck of the draw. Like your leather pieces are just extra long sometimes. And I mean, if you think about it, we didn't use that much for this little bit, so I'm gonna grab another one. And I may have to twist it to get it on there. I may have to switch altogether, I'm not sure. There we go, got it. And I want it to stagger just a little, so I want like this one to be down just a little bit from that one. So when it's full, that's about where it will be. So yeah. So now I'm gonna make them really tight. I tell people in my other videos, rather, I tell you, if you have to put your teeth in it, do it. I don't, but if I had to, I would. Now I'm gonna cut it off at about, I don't know, a ½ inch down. Nothing, no method to that really. So I think that looks really cute. And now for the handle. So for the top part, I think since this isn't long enough to do exactly what I did with the other one, I'm just going to loop it through one time and get the ends even, and then take it and loop it upon itself like you're gonna tie a knot with both ends, and then keep on coming, not too tightly, until you get it the size that you want, okay? And then still not too tightly. We're gonna take the ends and start tucking them down inside that knot before we tighten it the rest of the way. And this will just be to kind of hide it, hide the ends. You may need a crochet hook for this part to help you shove the leather ends down in there. All right, so now you want to kind of pull real tight on that end. Sorry, I gotta give it a little more pull this way. And then you're gonna wanna pull these real tight. So that it doesn't go anywhere, okay? And then what I plan to do is cut it right there. I'm gonna do some more tugging, because I really don't want it to go anywhere. But I really love leather because, number one, it smells amazing. And it's very durable. Okay, so now I mean, if you want to make this even more gaudy, you could add beads to that, but I don't think I'm going to. Okay, and then you should be able to still kind of move it to where you want it. That looks pretty good. All right, and for one last embellishment before we are done, that I plan to do, anyways, in my bag of beads, or box or bucket or whatever of beads that I got from Walmart, there are these same beads, only tiny. So I'm really excited that I have them. So I'm going to make a tassel for the zipper, and I'm going to use those beads at the top to kind of tie it in. I'm going to use the same color of yarn for my tassel and my monofilament cord. And for my tassels, I just use my fingers. Now, because this is such a small area that we're going to be looking at here, I didn't wrap my fingers very many times because I didn't want it to be huge. Now, I didn't add a bead to this one because I thought it took away from it. I don't know how to explain why I do what I do. But I think on this particular one, that since the tassel will be the same color as the zipper and the bag, that the beads will actually add to it. Whereas this one, the tassel was going to be a different color, and then we've got all these different colors going on in the material and everything. I figured less is more in this situation. So, get your tassel color out, and I just wrap my fingers about 6 times. And that is it. As far as the tassel goes, you don't have to worry about it being perfect because we are going to cut it even more. Now, for those of you who are perfectionists, this is about 7 inches or 18 centimeters. Okay, and then I cut a piece of monofilament cord about, I don't know, 10 or 12 inches long. And I'm going to thread it through the zipper pull and tie it kind of loosely at first because you want it to be in the middle, and then tie it again to knot it. This stuff is like that nylon thread, though. It's kind of got a mind of its own. Okay, and then you're going to want to cut the tips to where they're the same, which mine are the same. And I think I'm going to use, it's tough to say if I use 1 or 2 beads. I'm going to look at it and see. I think I'm going to use 2. This is so cute. These beads just are everything. All right, then you're going to spread the monofilament ends apart and take your tassel and set it in the middle, and then try to get your ends even, and then we're going to tie it several times to where it's pretty tight. You don't want it to come undone. Oh. Obviously I could have cut less monofilament cord. I hate wasting. Okay, so I'm going to cut it almost to the quick. And then it kind of wants to do its own thing, so I'm going to take a piece and wrap around. And I don't measure, I just cut. Sorry, perfectionist. Now I'm going to kind of wrap it, try to get your strands pretty straight. I'm going to wrap it around the front one time, towards the top, because again I'm going to cut this a little bit shorter. Okay, and then I'm going to flip it over and tie it again, and tie it again to make it a knot. All right, now this has kind of got a mind of its own at times. All right, so I'm gonna cut it about, I don't know, 3 inches down. And your pyramid bag is complete. I'm gonna stuff it because I want you to see what it looks like completely done. I want you to see how it would look if you had items in it. And this actually holds surprisingly a lot. Part of it is because this material is very stretchy. By the way, if you sell these, this is what I recommend doing. When you go to take pictures, I recommend stuffing them with grocery bags. And if you don't have grocery bags, just something similar. Tissue paper or the like, you know. And you are done. This is what it looks like. I think it looks great. It's simple but cute.
I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial today and that I taught you something new. Thank you for watching.